Welcome to the All Things Nintendo podcast. I'm Brian Shea, and this is a weekly podcast to discuss all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo. Kirby Air Riders is out now, and in the lead up to launch, Masahiro Sakurai basically put out a feature-length film across 2 Nintendo Directs to share every single thing there is to know about this game. So you would think we'd be all set on that front, but since it is out now, I guess we're going to have to do our due diligence and review this thing. Also, I got my hands on the all-new Analogue 3D console, and I'm going to be giving my impressions on that as well. But as always, we've got some news to get to first. Joining me for that and a whole lot more is Polygon's Giovanni Colantonio. Gio, how are you doing today?
I'm doing so good, more specifically because Kirby is in my life. Kirby Air Riders is in my hands. It has been my whole life for a couple weeks. I'm excited to talk about that later, but I've been doing great. How are you, man?
I am doing pretty well as well. We were talking before we got on. I can't talk about specifics, but I've been just consumed by interviews at my job at Game Informer lately, and it's nice to just have another kind of conversation here. I'm going to be grilling you about Kirby Air Riders later on in the show, but this is just going to be a nice natural back and forth, no Q&A format, none of that. It's going to be a nice thing. But
if you want to ask the hard-hitting questions, you can. If you're in that mindset and you really want to dig in, by all means, I'll do it, man.
Well, unfortunately, we're recording this a little bit early, and the thing I have the most questions about is this alleged Pokemon Legends ZA DLC announcement that we're going to be getting, but we are recording this before that hits. So if there's any big news that comes out of that, I will touch on that next week. But Gio, how are you feeling about the fact that they are giving us DLC so soon after release?
I think it's probably pretty smart. And I think it's pretty smart because looking at Mario Kart World, actually, Mario Kart World came out, people liked it, but then there was kind of the sense of okay, what's next, right? We're in, and we know that game's going to get a booster pass or something, right? They're going to probably do the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe thing with it. They made too much money to not do that. But you expected that to start happening a little bit sooner, right? And to kind of keep the momentum of the game up. And I think the fact that they didn't do that has kind of brought people down on that game, right? It's kind of taken it out of people's minds. They've moved on from it. And people aren't really thinking about Mario Kart, or they've had time to be well, here's the stuff I don't like about that game. So if you have the content ready to go, strike while the iron's hot, right? People are playing it. Probably now people are just starting to finish that game if you're playing it casually, or at least get to the ending of it. Yeah, man, throw people into the DLC immediately. Why wait 6 months? There's going to be so much other stuff that we have to play in 6 months. It's too crowded to do that anymore.
I think that you are hitting the nail on the head for how I feel about this, because at first I was wait, we're getting story DLC already, and paid DLC at that. And then the more I thought about it, the more I'm how many times have I just absolutely loved a game? Which I wouldn't say I absolutely love Legends ZA. I like it, but it's not my favorite Pokemon game or anything like that. But I've absolutely loved a game, and I'm oh, I can't wait for DLC for that. But then I move on to other things. Then the DLC comes out, and I'm I think I'm good. I've right. moved on with my life. I never played the BioShock Infinite DLC or the Witcher 3 DLC, even though I've heard it's fantastic. Yeah. Just because I played it when it came out, and then I was well, I think I've lost my love for playing this game, and it's so hard to go back to those bigger games like that.
Yeah, even Breath of the Wild, right? One of my favorite games of all time. I think it's a masterpiece. When they announced the DLC for that game, and they're we have new DLC, I was I played this. I don't need to go back and do this. And they were but you have a motorcycle. And I'm whatever, man. And I forget that DLC exists. Sometimes I remember that they made it, and I'm whoa, that's a huge piece of one of the greatest games of all time that I've never touched at all. So yeah, man, if you have the momentum and people are playing the game, and you don't need to bring people back into it or whatever, why not just keep people captive, especially when December and January are coming up, where we know that people are a little more looking for games to play, the release schedule slows down. Smart move.
Also, I agree with you 100% that Nintendo should have released some sort of Mario Kart World DLC instead of the Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC that we got, which I know it's separate teams and all that, but
yeah.
Donkey Kong Bonanza did not need DLC that fast. Mario Kart World could have used some more content.
Absolutely. Just something to give you a sense of what is the long-term vision of this game. Whereas Donkey Kong, nobody thought that game had a long-term vision. So being we made a roguelite was why'd you do that? But again, struck while the iron was hot. People were still playing it, same strategy. So maybe they're onto something. I don't know.
Yeah.
With everything except Mario Kart.
We'll have to monitor how they handle this going forward. I mean, Sakurai's already said there's no plans for Kirby Air Riders DLC. Basically, like what you see is what you get. We're going to
Yeah.
be talking about that game a whole lot in the main segment of this show. We'll have to see if maybe there's some Metroid Prime DLC that gets announced at some point in the future, or there's a lot of 2026 that we don't know is going to happen in Nintendo land. So we'll have to see where they go from there. But we do have some news stories to get to. But before we get to those, just a reminder that you're listening to the All Things Nintendo podcast. This show arrives in your podcast feeds completely free each and every Friday, brought to you by the fine folks who support me on Patreon. Without people like them, this show simply would not exist. You can join the Patreon for as little as $3 a month. That gets you access to the community Discord, which lets you hang out with fellow listeners of the show. But there are also $5 and $10 tiers to get you early and ad-free episodes, plus shout-outs at the end of every show. Just go to patreon.com and search All Things Nintendo. It is only because of the wonderful folks who support this show that it is able to continue each and every week. Okay, Gio, so we have some news to get to this week.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the first piece of news is a pretty sad story. So Rebecca Heineman, an absolute legend of the industry, received a diagnosis of an extremely aggressive form of lung cancer. Just last month is when she made it public. I think it was October 4th was when she launched her GoFundMe. And sadly, this week she passed away. Originally, she started that GoFundMe to help her battle against cancer. But I believe it was over this last weekend, she shared that she was basically told that, I know that a week ago or a week prior to her passing, she was rushed to the hospital, unable to breathe. And the doctors basically told her, hey, we don't advise that you undergo further treatment as we don't think it would be effective. So she actually posted that she was shifting her GoFundMe to the cause to help pay for her funeral and help set up her family more than, continuing treatment. Incredibly sad story. She's widely known as one of, if not the very first competitive gaming champion. In 1980, she won the Space Invaders National Championship. And she wrote about video games, actually, like you and I do, for Electronic Games back in the 1980s. And then she worked on a ton of games as a developer. So she worked at game publisher Avalon Hill, where she created the studio's game engine. Then she worked for Boone Corporation, where she programmed several games for Commodore 64, Apple II, and other platforms. Boone Corporation closed down not too long after that, and then she joined Brian Fargo, Jay Patel, and Troy Worrell in founding Interplay. So Interplay, not as big of a hitter today as it was back then, but it's a legendary studio from the mid 90s to the early 2000s. While she was there, she designed The Bard's Tale 3, Dragon Wars, Mind Shadow, and worked on Battle Chess. If you're unfamiliar with Interplay, that's also the studio that is noteworthy for bringing the Fallout franchise into existence before it was acquired by Bethesda after the release of Fallout 2. Rebecca left that company in 1995 and co-founded Logicware, where she oversaw development on Defiance, as well as ports of Killing Time, Shattered Steel, Jazz Jackrabbit 2, and a canceled port of Half-Life. And
wow.
In 1999, she founded Contraband Entertainment and led the development of the Activision Anthology and several other ports. She also worked as a consultant with Electronic Arts and Ubisoft to upgrade their game engines. And she helped Amazon as a software architect. And then she was also super instrumental in the recent generations. She trained Microsoft's game studios on how to develop Xbox 360 games. And she provided code for both the PlayStation Portable and the PS4. And then in 2013, she founded a studio called Old School. That is OLDESKUUL. And what are those? Umlauts? Is that what those are over the use? With Janelle Jaquays, Maureen Starkey, and Susan Manley. And also, if you've watched Netflix's video game industry docuseries, it was called High Score. She was prominently featured in that. She was just, I ran down a lot of stuff there, but the long and short of it is she was a true legend of the industry. She was a trailblazer in the industry for the trans community. I never met her, unfortunately, but everybody that I talked to about her always seemed to come away from their interaction with her with like enamored by like her energy, her intelligence, how passionate she was. She even up till like kind of like at the buzzer when she knew that she was about to die, she was
Yeah.
still in good spirits on social media. You know, she was like, "Oh, this is kind of a dream come true, getting to see others eulogize me while I'm still alive." Like that's the kind of person that she seemed to be.
Yeah.
And I've always talked about like how Satoru Iwata was kind of like that fixer who would come in just like into studios and, you know, improve their processes. And I would say that like to a different extent, but a similar type of function, Rebecca kind of started filling that roles for some of these companies in the latter portions of her career, and she just seemed like a programming genius.
Yeah, yeah, it's such a shame because it's one of those things where it's like we don't celebrate people enough while they're here. You know what I mean? Like this is not a name that I think like a lot of people probably knew on the same level as an Iwata, right? But now everyone does, and it's like, oh my god, like shit, this resume is like unbelievable. How did we not know about this? And you know, it just makes you have that sobering moment of like, man, I wish this industry was better about like celebrating people while they're here and giving people their flowers, you know. But you know, I'm glad that people now kind of like are recognizing her contributions to the space, and I think it's like really a needed thing. And then I mean the other thing with this story is just like that's always sad. Is like, man, this stuff can happen fast. Like with how quickly this all kind of went down. A reminder to take care of yourself, you know, and go to the doctors as soon as you see that something is off. You know, it really can just happen that quick, and it's sad, and you know you can't really account for it. It can happen at random, and you know it is what it is. But you know, let it hopefully remind you like take care of yourself when something feels off. Yeah, just a sad story all around, and a true rest in peace.
Yeah, and a very good point there is that like we need to celebrate people while they're still around, and there are some people that like we rightfully celebrate as they're still with us. But like I think that we need to expand that scope, and there's eras I would say of game development that we just don't properly lift them up on the pedestal that they really deserve to be on. And I'm really glad that Netflix had kind of the insight
Yeah.
to kind of reach out to Rebecca to be in that documentary, because I think that was probably her introduction to a lot of people in especially in like the mainstream audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Well, and hopefully now more people know her and you know can celebrate her work. That's all you can hope for.
yeah. So there's no real good way to move on from
Yeah.
that, but yeah, rest in peace, Rebecca Heineman, and you know, condolences to everybody who was impacted by her. I'm sure that they're mourning her loss pretty hard right now.
No.
So moving on to kind of some more direct Nintendo news. Last week, we got the first real trailer for the Super Mario Galaxy movie. And as we know, that's not the only movie that is in development at Nintendo Pictures. As such, this week, we got our first looks at Bo Bragason as Princess Zelda and Benjamin Evan Ainsworth as Link in the upcoming live-action Legend of Zelda movie. So Zelda is wearing the blue outfit that we know from her appearance in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Mhm.
And interestingly enough, Link is not rocking the blue. He is rocking a dark green tunic, similar to what I would say is his look in Twilight Princess. Only it's young Link, so I don't know like what exactly. I mean, it's probably very similar to like the Mario movie, where it's not
Yeah.
taking like one specific story and adapting it. It's taking like just a scatter shot of different Zelda games and incorporating them into there. But how did you? How did these images strike you?
They're so funny, and like it's so funny to see them because like at the end of the day the images are of like two people sitting in a field, just like a normal field, not like a cartoon, you know, like oh we've really like put some set design in here and there's like the ancients or whatever the machine sitting out there. It's just like two people in New Zealand in costume. So like it's like surreal to see, right? Just like actual actors in those outfits and like see them in the real world, and that's always weird because I think those things out of context, out of like color correction and you know all like post production they do can sometimes look really cheesy. Like I don't know if you remember the first time like a Witcher set photo leaked and
Mm-hmm.
everyone was like, this looks horrible. Like, oh my God, it looks like he's wearing a Spirit Halloween costume. And then you see it in the show and you're like, oh, that looks great. This looks fine in context. So like, I don't have too many thoughts about it so far, right? But like, it's mostly just like surreal that it's happening, right? That we have like green tunic Link on screen, like actual actor. And yeah, the thing you noted though about like what era does this take place in? Are we mixing and matching things here? Is this Breath of the Wild world, timeline world? You're probably right that it's just going to be a totally unique thing, and they just pull the most, I don't know, iconic outfits from both of them to match that. But yeah, my expectations are nothing. After seeing the photos, it's like at the end of the day, this is still a film that's directed by like the guy who did the last Planet of the Apes film that wasn't very good. So I'm like, I don't know. We'll see.
Didn't he also do Maze Runner?
I think he also did Maze Runner, which like should be such a like, wait, are they making a YA movie? Like is this like a thing? My judgment is so reserved until I see like a first trailer for this thing. All I know so far is that they filmed it in New Zealand, and that's all I can tell.
I saw one post that what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, what did you think of it?
Well, I saw one post that was like, this just looks like really good cosplay photos.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's necessarily a knock on the movie as much as it is like praising how far cosplay and like photography around cosplay and like the outfitting that a lot of cosplayers work really hard on has come, because like that is like, that's 100% accurate. I'm sure that I've seen something very similar from like some of the industry's top cosplayers, but again, like I don't know if there's any way that you can differentiate that. Like, I think it's gonna, once the trailer hits, that's when we're really gonna get a sense of like the level of quality and the tone and everything. But
you always need to see this stuff in motion. You just like always have to see what a costume looks like in motion when the film is color corrected around it. Like everything is always going to look flat and weird in photos and like pop when they actually have done post-production on it. That's the important thing to remember, I think.
Definitely. But I think they look great. Like I think that like they if I see them, I don't think I'm going to look at either of them and be like, that doesn't look like Zelda or that doesn't look like Link. Like they both look like they fit the part. And that's really all you can ask for from like, do the outfits look good? Yup. Do the faces look like they fit these characters? Yup. All right. I think that's all we can really glean from still set photos.
Yeah, it's so funny that they put them out. It feels like it's because there were like some leaks that happened and they were like, we need to just get official photos out there, and like they'll show nothing, but like at least people won't be looking at these blurry photos out of context. So and it also just gives you a reason to log into the Nintendo Today app, which is still a thing.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it was originally shared on Nintendo Today, but we also did get them shared out on social media with a tweet. And I want everybody to say the first line with me. This is Miyamoto. And then he went on, filming is underway for the live action film of The Legend of Zelda in a lush natural setting with Bo Bragason son, who will play Zelda, and Benjamin Evan Ainsworth's son, who will play Link. Filming is on track for the film's release on May 7th, 2027. It will take a while until the release, so we would be grateful if you would wait patiently and look forward to it.
It's so nice whenever he's like, are you guys okay with waiting? Please. It's like, oh, thank you. That's so sweet of you to ask.
I love like when Japanese developers, I'm sure it's just like they are saying this phrase in Japanese and the translation just does not go one to one, but it's always, please look forward to. And it is the most charming thing. And
I'm always like, yeah, I do. Yeah, sure. I'll do that.
I will continue to look forward to this movie. Gio, give me your pitch for what you'd like to see from the Legend of Zelda live action movie.
Oh my God. That is such a huge question. I don't know. I mean, and that's the thing that I think is like fascinating about this movie is that like, I kind of want to see that like classic Ganondorf, like Ocarina of Time story, even though like Ganondorf isn't the iconic Zelda villain like Ganon is, right? But like in a live action movie, I probably want to see them keep it to Ganondorf and keep like a humanoid conflict in there. And really like, I know that we kind of got like some confirmation of casting on what appears to be Impa, I think has like kind of come out of that. So it seems like, that's going to be a whole part of it. If you're going to give me anything, give me the story of like Ganondorf and the Gerudus and like that interesting dynamic of like this one man born into a society of women. That's always such a cool part of that story that I think you could really build off of, and build like a villain that is not just like a guy that gets beaten up, but has some heft and thematic weight that you can throw behind it. Yeah, I kind of hope they go with something that like has the look of Breath of the Wild, but maybe the story and like timeless fantasy of Ocarina of Time. I think that would kind of do it for me.
That's kind of where I'm at as well. Like, I think that Ocarina of Time is grounded enough that it's not going to feel like you're getting thrown into the deep end with this universe. Like, it's, and it has that perfect transition where you see Ganondorf throughout the entire story. He has a personality. He looks like a human. And then at the very end, the final conflict, he transforms into Beast Ganon. And then it's like, oh, this is like taken to the next level. And I feel like
Yeah.
that is the perfect introduction. You get the villain origin story with Ganondorf. And then at the very end, you see him in like his kind of true beast form. And then maybe that's like the future of the franchise, is like Ganon being resurrected time after time. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like, I don't know, maybe we go real nerdy with this and get Demise or something.
Ooh, yeah. Like if they hey, let's get what's his name, Zant from
Oh God.
from Twilight Princess. Let's get Zant up in the next one.
Oh man. That would be very brave of them.
They should just get like they should take some of the weirdest scenes from the series and adapt it. Like this movie should end with Link stabbing a sword into Ganondorf's head, like in like in Wind Waker. It'd be like bad people be like, "Whoa, this is not. You shouldn't put this in a kids movie."
Or just straight through his chest, like in
Yeah.
Twilight Princess.
Oh, it's so good, man. It's good stuff.
But anyway, it comes out May 7th, 2027. So we got just about a year and a half before we are seeing this thing in theaters, barring any delays. But
Yeah.
the movie industry is a little bit better about not delaying stuff than the games industry is, which, games industry, it feels like almost every game gets delayed after its announcement.
Yeah, if you get a delay in the movie industry, it's because of like scheduling conflicts.
Mm.
It's not because like the movie's not done.
Yeah. They've got those processes on lock.
Yeah.
Gio, we got a shadow drop of one of the best games from Xbox 360, and that is Tomb Raider Definitive Edition.
Right.
So it's an enhanced kind of remaster of the 2013 reboot, seemingly a port of the PS4 and Xbox One remasters, but it doesn't seem like it has all the physics enhancements that came with those versions. Like, I don't know. It seems like it's optimized to run on Switch One.
Hmm.
So the best versions are probably still on like your Xbox or PlayStation, but this is a really fun game to have on Switch. And if you like the Uncharted games and you haven't played the kind of rebooted Tomb Raider trilogy that came to 360 and PS4, like this is definitely one to check out.
I hadn't even thought of the fact that those games weren't on Switch already, but I
Yeah.
guess that they wouldn't be. I hope we get more weird things like this where it's like filling in the gaps of the Switch library. Like it wasn't quite powerful enough, and it's on everything else, So, but now we can put it on Switch too. Like, just yeah, bring me more of that like weird 2010s AAA stuff on Switch too.
And I mean, I think this was like in contention for my game of the year back in 2013 when it came out, because it was super
Really?
good. I think it's the best of the trilogy.
Yes, the first one for sure. I think so. Most
Yeah,
focused.
it's kind of like a more human version of Lara Croft. It's not like the kind of like superhero that we got in the original games. This is like her origin story in a much more grounded and gritty way. Like,
Yeah, and it goes to great lengths to like torture her if you die in the game. Like
oh
the death
god, I forgot
animations
about
are
those.
way over the top. It's crazy.
I think
It's
there's one
ridiculous.
that has stuck with me over the years. I don't know if it's on this one or the second one, but like you're in a river and you're like
Yep.
sliding down, and like if you don't avoid the stick, you just see the stick go in through her neck and out the top of her skull, and she does like that weird like reaching for it, like she's trying like, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not going to get out of that.
It's so like Mortal Kombat fatality in that game for no reason. And I remember at the time everyone was like, "This is maybe too. Don't brutalize her this much. Like, what are we doing?" But it's a
Not
good game. Content.
It's a
warning,
very
I
good
guess.
game, but yeah, that is a point that I forgot. So if you are squeamish towards brutal dismemberment, I don't know if it's dismemberment, but brutal death scenes,
Yeah.
maybe don't go to this one. But something that I've noticed with the Switch 2 is we've slowly started seeing sports franchises returning to Nintendo. So NBA 2K and EA Sports FC, or FIFA as it was known for many years, they never really left Nintendo.
Right.
MLB The Show arrived on Switch 1 like midway through the life cycle when Sony and MLB decided to bring MLB The Show to multi-platform. And then Madden finally came back to Nintendo with the launch of the Switch 2. And now 2K has announced it is bringing PGA Tour 2K25 to Switch 2.
Let's go.
And we don't know when it's going to hit, but we can expect all the modes and features of the PS5 and Xbox Series X version to be present here. I am actually a pretty big fan of sports games. I haven't played PGA Tour 2K25, but this is refreshing to see. Like, I don't know, do you get any excitement surrounding like what appears to be a big resurgence in sports games coming to Switch?
Yeah, I do love that, and I especially love something like this coming to Switch because at the end of the day, I think that like a lot of sports games are built for handheld, and like they have never really gotten to be on handheld in that way. And like a golf game is so perfect for it. Like anytime I play a Mario Golf game, I want to be playing the handheld version of it, right? I want to play like the 3DS one in that series. I like played so much of because it's so good for handheld sessions. It's like, oh, I'm going to do a few holes, right? Like, cool. That's a couple minutes. Great. So yeah, I think like it's great to have the option of games like that on Switch. I think like sports games can be a really natural fit depending on how they're set up. Can't say that like the PGA games are it's things that I am keeping up with or playing, but maybe I will now. Who knows? Maybe I'll sink some. I love golf games, man. I play a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, and it seems like it's a pretty good one. Like if I feel like if there wasn't like an active community or it was like just like bashed by everybody universally, they would just kind of like not bother. Like
Yeah.
2K already showed that if something doesn't sell well or like the community doesn't really take to it, they won't take to it. They just will abandon an announced Switch port, right? Like they did that with Marvel's Midnight Suns,
Right.
which is a very good game, but like it just didn't sell at all. And then Borderlands 4 got delayed indefinitely because of the performance problems, and who knows if we're ever going to see that.
Yeah.
But so it must have some good qualities, and like the community must be positive on it. Otherwise, I feel like 2K would just not bother.
It's hard to mess up a golf game. And I'm sure that someone who makes golf games will hear that and be like, no, it's so easy to mess up a golf game. But, you know, it's like if you're making like a pure simulator, right, where the mechanics are really like hit ball into hole, hit button once, hit button twice, you've hit the ball. Like it takes a lot to screw that up if you have a formula already.
I mean, Nintendo can't quite get it right. Like Mario Golf games have been so up and down ever since we got like the Game Boy Color version.
Yeah. But the GameCube one, perfect game. Perfect
yes.
game.
So a big announcement that came out of this Xbox partner preview stream. If you've listened to this podcast for like any amount of time, you've heard me gush all about Vampire Survivors. And I guess if you've been paying attention to the internet, you probably know that I am extremely excited for this next announcement because during that stream, we learned about Vampire Crawlers, which is the next game from the Vampire Survivor studio Poncle. And they claim to be bringing kind of that same one more run mentality of the Survivors game into a first-person deck-building roguelike dungeon crawler, which is a lot of descriptors. Some of the weapons and upgrades from Survivors will make the leap, and we don't know when it's going to be coming, but according to the Xbox partner preview, it will be arriving, quote, soon. So where does Vampire Survivors sit with you?
Genius. I love that game. It is. I'm someone who has a lot of anxiety when I fly on an airplane. I get really like nervous about it. Like if I've gotten better at it because I've had to fly so much more in my life. Like the older I've gotten, but like I need something to like make me time travel or like really preoccupy my mind. Vampire Survivors is the time travel game for airport anxiety, right? Like if I sit down with that and I play a couple runs, I look up and I'm like, oh, 3 hours have gone by, and I don't realize that. That game, I don't know what it is, but they just have figured out a way to like create that, right? A thing that you just get sucked into that like takes up so much time, but it feels like no time has passed. And if the new game can do that for it's whatever it's doing with that genre mashup, my anxiety will be so happy for it, and that'll become an instant Steam Deck, airplane game if it's going to be compatible there. Yeah, I'm excited for it. We'll see. The whole like genre mashup of it is like almost self-parody of like indie games at this point. But like if it works, great. I'm excited. I trust that studio with my life.
Yeah, I have the utmost confidence in the studio. We don't know too much about this game yet, aside from like those genre descriptors, but like Ponkel has shown time and time again that they understand how to get you to just keep going, like, all right, one more, one more, one more. And I've described Vampire Survivors in that exact same way, as like it is time travel when you're on a plane. It's like up there with like Balatro in terms of like, I'm just going to look down, play a few rounds, and then when I look up, I will be like halfway to my destination. And it's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, let's end the news segment on this. What comes to mind when I say the name of this city? Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix, Arizona. Deserts? I don't know. I don't know what's in Phoenix. It's flat land.
Have you ever been there?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So I ran a Thanksgiving 5K there back in 2014, but that is the extent of my time in downtown Phoenix.
Okay.
But we have kind of a weird news story coming out of that city. So a new apartment complex is getting ready to open, and it is called Rainbow Road, and it is exactly for the reasons that you might expect. So I read this story over on the local like Fox affiliate in Arizona, and they interviewed Zach Cohen, who is the creative director at Rack House, with all like the Swedish spelling, which is the most apartment complex sounding name of all time. And they pulled a bunch of inspiration from the Mario Kart series for the creation of this complex. So the quote that I'm going to read is from Fox 10 Phoenix. He said, quote, "There's a ton of Easter eggs incorporated into the building. One of them is that it's a 12-sided building, which represents the Mario Kart track and all the different cornering and the fact that it's not just a square track, but it has a lot of twists and turns. So that's one of the design elements."
You know, the classic Mario Kart Easter egg that they have 12 walls, I guess. the thing we all know and love about Mario Kart.
As you progress up, you level up with each floor. So we think it's a really interesting interpretation of levels to that game. All of the window insets are different colors of the actual video game. I don't know where to start with this.
So did you see the video, like the video where he's like talking about it? Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Like, it's very clear that like he doesn't have that this company does not have the licensing to do any of this, right? They can't actually have like Mario or anything like that. And I don't really know why they're bothering calling it Rainbow Road because of that, because like if you don't have any of that, what is it? But the idea of like, yeah, just like in Mario Kart, you level up as you go up the floors is like, wait, do you know what Mario Kart is? What's going on? Why are you doing this?
The famous RPG based on leveling, Mario Kart. And
the whole thing of like the windows are the colors of Mario Kart, and it's like all the colors are in Mario Kart. There's no like color. It's not like a game that is like red in tone or something. Like they're all there. You can't just say that. Unbelievable. It truly like. It makes me wonder if it was like a chat GPT creation come to life or something, like there's no sense to what is being said in that interview. And the building doesn't like have any, the building's black.
I know.
Rainbow Road is rainbow colored and the building is pitch black. The one color that's like not represented in Rainbow Road, the absence of color is the building. What are we doing here?
It is the most ridiculous news story, I think, in the world of Nintendo this week. I saw it come across my timeline. I'm like, I have to bring this up because there is no sense to this whatsoever. Like, I mean, it's cool that like you can be like, yeah, I live at Rainbow Road, which, by the way, is also the name of an adult toy store here in Minnesota.
My favorite thing about the video, if you go watch it, is that while he's doing the interview, the fire alarm like battery chirp is happening every like 2 seconds while he's talking. Just that like classic like when the battery's dying and you get like beep really loudly. There's like 10 of those going off in the building at once, and I'm like, oh, this building is not good. This is not up to code at all, and you can tell from this video like there's no batteries in these things.
So Gio, I would say you and I are pretty huge gamers.
Yeah, I
We've
think so.
built our lives, our careers around video games. I am the host of a Nintendo podcast, which with a particular fondness and history with Mario Kart.
Of course.
If you suddenly got an email from Stephen Polygon, whoever the head of Polygon is these
Sure.
days,
Yeah.
and he said, "Hey, listen, Gio, we've got to have a Phoenix, Arizona correspondent. You got to relocate to Phoenix. If you're starting your apartment search, are you even going to schedule a visit at Rainbow Road?"
Oh, I'll schedule a visit. Don't get me wrong, and I'll ask for a discount. I'll be like, well, I've reviewed a Mario Kart game. I should get a little something here. But like, that place sounds like a death trap. I like everything about it sounds like it is a place where you will die. And I don't know, maybe I'm not giving them enough credit. Maybe like the name is just the name, and like they're trying to sell it in like a nostalgia cheeky thing, but they're actually like it's a well thought out apartment or everything like that. But like, I don't know. Like, I don't really trust anybody who's like, in Mario Kart, you level up. Like there seems to be a gap of knowledge there that makes me wonder, like, what is your expertise on other things?
Now, here's the thing that so it's an established apartment company, it seems,
Sure. Yeah.
Rack House, and I'm wondering if they're going to lean into it with like the entertainment areas. Like, is there going to be like a big switch to like
Mm.
like system that you can like reserve and like have like a party in like the common room, and like you can rent out a Switch 2 or whatever. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know like how they're going to really lean into it aside from
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Because
If they
again,
don't have the
licensing.
license.
Yeah, like you'd have to be doing a lot of the stuff rogue, and maybe that is it. Maybe the building has a lot of like decals inside that like Nintendo can't see. I think they're cowards though, because if they really wanted to make like a Rainbow Road apartment, like there should be no railings like anywhere. Like they should be open faced apartments where like you can roll out of bed and fall out of the building. Like that's what a Rainbow Road apartment should be in my mind.
Hey, that's only the SNES version, right? Like
That's
the
true.
N
That's true.
N64 added like those yellow gates on the side.
Yeah, there's guardrails on parts of the track. Sometimes you can fall off parts of the
That's
track.
fair.
That's one room. Your bathroom should have no walls. That's
Yeah, the
that's what it
shower
should.
is like one of those like weird ones you get at hotels sometimes, where it's just like a
Yes.
very loose piece of glass that like
Yeah.
by the time you're finished showering, the entire bathroom is soaked.
Yes, and it shoots out like crystal stars instead of water.
You leave your shower just completely cut to pieces.
Yeah, just bleeding top to bottom. That's what Rainbow Road should be.
Rack House, hit us up and we will be happy to consult with you on this.
We'll fix this place up. We got you.
Well, on that note, Gio, we're going to take our first break of this episode. When we get back, we're going to be talking about Kirby Air Riders and the Analogue 3D. We will be right back. We are back, and Kirby Air Riders hits this week. As such, that will be our main talker for this week's episode. Gio, were you a fan of Kirby Air Ride back in the day, like of GameCube?
So no, and there's a really interesting reason for why, and I think a lot of people who maybe didn't grow up in the GameCube era don't really know about this, which is that Kirby Air Ride, when it came out, it is like now heralded as like a cult classic. Like, oh, what a great Sakurai game! Like everyone loves this thing. People hated it when it came out. That game came out 2003 on the GameCube, and the reviews for it were so bad, like uncharacteristically bad for GameCube at the era, where like every GameCube game was a huge hit in that era. You had like Metroid Prime and Double Dash and Melee and all these games. And Air Riders was like a flop by comparison, like a 61 average on Metacritic or something like that. And part of the reason that it was such a flop was because Nintendo like sent that thing out to die because it sandwiched right between F-Zero GX, which came out like 2 months before it came out, and Mario Kart Double Dash, which came out a few weeks after Air Ride came out. So Air Ride was this like weird experimental kart racer in the middle of two generational racing games that are like two of the all-time best and like two of the best games of the GameCube era. So people were like, what is this weird simple game? And as a kid, I was like, yeah, this sounds terrible. It has one button, like it sounds so weird. So I skipped it, and I didn't actually come to it until like a few years ago when I like played it for the first time and was like, didn't really love it, but was like, this is really interesting though. Like there's way more here than I remember people talking about at the time and like getting into the city trial mode and being like, this is fascinating. Like, I didn't really know this was a part of this game. So no, I wasn't a fan of it at all. And even when I played it, I still kind of didn't fully get it, but like, was like, I appreciate this. And when they announced that they were doing Kirby Air Riders during like the Nintendo Direct, I was like, they have lost their mind. This is crazy.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody thought that was going to be a Kirby Air Ride game when like the teaser started at the Switch 2 reveal, where it was
Yes.
like, I was like, oh, okay, cool, they're doing a Kirby game. And then it was like, oh, is this Smash Brothers? And then it was like, no, it's Kirby Air Riders. And I was like, I think I heard everybody in the room, because we were
Yeah.
at the Nintendo Switch 2 event in New
Yeah.
York, and everybody was like, what?
It was like, I was like turning to the people next to me and we were all like, what? Also, that event was so funny because that's also the event where they revealed Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour during that direct, and they said like it will be a paid exclusive, and the entire room laughed out loud when they said it was paid. And like Doug Bowser was definitely in the room, and like 200 journalists just like started laughing, and I was like, I feel so bad for them, and they're surely going to change this now, and they did not. It was a funny event.
I told that story as well as one of my favorite memories of that event. Was
so funny.
So Kirby Air Riders, we already know so much about this game thanks to like all the footage and breakdowns that were shared by Masahiro Sakurai. It was like 2 hours worth of like footage, if you count the trailers and then the 2 Nintendo Directs.
Yeah.
But I guess even with that in mind, were there any ways that Kirby Air Riders was still like able to surprise you?
Yes, actually, and I've been playing it for like 2 weeks, and something just surprised me about it today. So I love this game, and I'll get into that. But the thing that really surprised me about it is there's a lot of cart customization in the game. You get like decals and all these things that you can stick onto carts. And I messed with it a little bit when I was playing, and I was like, oh, this is cute. You can like put a sticker on your thing or put like a little like whatever, and you know, cool. Didn't think much of it. The game is now out in Japan, so people are playing it and like going to that scene. And I swear to God, it is like a Forza Horizon garage that has sprung out of this game. The custom stuff that people have figured out how to make using like stickers to like figure out shapes is unbelievable. People have turned like there's a wagon in that game that's like a square wagon. People have turned it into a GameCube, like a perfect GameCube that you can ride on in that game. I have seen like Starmie. People have made like Starmie from Pokemon out of like the Star like ride. I've seen like memes. People, you know, like the Pepsi meme, but it's Beepus. People have made Beepus like in that game. It is, and like those things are not just like things you can make, but you can like buy them from the online store and like have them in your game. And when you play City Trial, those things can show up. So I like was playing and like got on the GameCube wagon and was like, holy crap, this is so cool. And I had no idea this was going to be a piece of this game and that there was going to be like that community level on it. And like, I already love the thing, but when I saw that today, I was like, oh, this has like even more to it than I thought. And I cannot wait to play this online.
We'll see how Nintendo responds to that with their weird selective litigious nature, where it's like, well, if you're an independent artist, we're going to sue you and block you from selling your stuff. But if you're the US government, we're just going to look the other way. So we'll see what they do with this.
Yeah, it could go either way. You never know.
It really could. So I'm assuming that like much like Super Smash Brothers, which, you know, Sakurai also created, like the level of like detail oriented design that he is known for is still intact. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and I think it's the most interesting part of the game, and I think it's also what makes it the most interesting Switch 2 game so far. If I could be so bold as to say that, I know that people will be like, "But Donkey Kong Bonanza." Air Riders is like a game of choices and decisions that are like so galaxy brained that no human being would think to put them in a game because they're not like functional necessarily, right? They just are Sakurai having a vision of like, it would be cool to have this thing in a game. It's not necessarily balanced, you know, in a perfect way, but like, I think it would be a fun idea. So my favorite example of that is all of the carts in the game, or machines as they're called, operate very differently. They're not just like, oh, this one like speeds up a little bit more or whatever. Like they have very different boosts or turning or like specific mechanics to them. And there's one that is called like, I don't remember what it's called. It's like the slippery machine or something, or like slippery star. And it is a star, like that you ride on that like slides around like it's soap. Like you go on the track and you just like go, you cannot control the thing. It's like fast, but it like truly it like slips and slides around the field. And like the first time I got it, I just like laughed out loud because I was like, why? Like, there's no reason you would put this in a game, right? Like, it's not functional. It's not like a meta thing. Like, oh, this is like sensically, you need to have like something that's really high speed and like low acceleration, like for the balance of the game. It's just like Sakurai was like, that would be a funny idea for a vehicle, and I'm gonna put it in the game. And the whole game is that, where he just makes all these decisions that are so like, I am not going to compromise on my weirdest ideas and my weirdest visions, and the level of detail I'm going to put into this like random cart that is like kind of a joke and take it so seriously makes the whole thing such a delight to play and like to discover each character and each cart and each course and the weird nuances of each thing and the things that like don't make sense. Somebody told me today that there is a thing in the game where sometimes in the city trial or whatever, there is like a text that comes on screen that like kind of gives you a tease of what's to come. And sometimes it's just misspelled on purpose, apparently. I don't know what the function of that is, but sometimes he just puts in like a typo text on screen for a reason that I don't know and seems to have a function. And it's like, what? What? Like, just again, galaxy brained, man.
And is that since like Masahiro Sakurai very clearly speaks Japanese, I don't know if he knows much English. Is that instructions to the localization team? Please typo this. Like, what is this?
I have no idea. I would love to find out more about that. That's the rumor I've heard about that. Apparently, is that there is typo text on screen on purpose in that game, and it's wild. The other thing that I think is like remarkable about it, and I don't want to spoil too much about it, but there is a story mode in this game, and if you know Sakurai and like how he does story modes, it's like he for no reason has like the most gorgeously animated cutscenes of any video game like in this, and you're like, what is going on? The story is crazy. It is completely crazy, and I won't say fully why it's crazy, but one of the reasons that it's like wild is that he like invents a justification for why racing exists in the world and why the karts exist in the world. Like, they aren't just cars. They aren't just like, oh yeah, and then everyone, these are their fun little cars. It's like, no, there is like a galactic universal implications reason of why karts are here and why people are drawn to ride them and like participate in races. It's not just they're having fun. There is like Kirby brained lore to like why racing is happening. And like, who would do that in a kart game, right? Who would be like, I'm going to justify why you are doing everything in this game. It is like so fascinating to just go through it and see his brain at work and see him be like, this isn't just a racing game. This is like a story driven game like anything else. And everything has to be justified. And there needs to be reasons why these things are happening in the world. It's such a joy to see that detail at work.
So where does the story mode unfold? Is it air ride, top ride? I mean, it's not top ride or city trial or
there is a mode in the game that is new to it, and this you might have missed it buried in his like 3-hour epic combination of streams.
The Christopher Nolan length of direct.
Yeah, like his feature length thing. It is basically a mode that is like a World of Light style mode, if you remember that from Smash Ultimate, where it's about like a 2-hour story driven mode where you go through like these stages and you're like kind of on a track, and you can go left and right between like 3 lanes and do different challenges. Right. So there are these like these challenges where it's like, oh, you do a race or you do a top or race, like basically all of the things from the other modes represented as like quick 1-minute mini games or less. Right. And you do those. There are bosses that happen in the mode, which are kind of like boss encounters. There are like traditional boss fights in that mode as well. And then you get like something like 9 or 10 cutscenes in between some of those levels. So yeah, it is like a full story campaign. But again, in that very World of Light, like bite-sized, built for the Nintendo Switch, like, yeah, you do a couple things and then you pop out and go to another mode. But it is a full-fledged weirdo story that is like, you have to see it to believe what he's doing, because it goes to some bizarre places immediately.
So before we get into like the actual racing mechanics, how do those boss fights play out? That seemed like the one area where I was a little concerned, because I was like, this looks like it could be super janky.
It's definitely janky. It's a little weird. There's not too many of them, luckily. Basically, you like you end up being in like a round arena, and that it is a game built for like moving straight, right? But city trial is a thing in the game, so it is kind of still built around the idea of being able to move in 100, 360-degree space, whatever. They do control a little bit weird. The momentum of trying to like turn a corner and do this, like the controls kind of change for those modes. A little strange. The game has its quirks, like no doubt, and especially like controls. I think will be something that like you either pick up what he's doing or you are like, this is too weird for me. I can't do this. But for the most part, like I think there are some quirky boss battles, but like I like the spirit of them enough that I was like, okay, cool. They're short enough. They're easy enough that like I'm not like freaking out about it. It's just fun to see him do weird stuff.
So talk to me about how the mechanics, like how does it each of the modes feel to get around? So like Air Ride is going to be like kind of just the traditional racetrack like gameplay. Top Ride is that weird like top down mode where it almost reminds me of like the old like NES racing games where it's
Yes.
like that type of control. And then City Trial is like the open city area with mini games interspersed.
Yeah, so the core racing, traditional is like a fun word to use because it is, but it's also not at all. Like the thing about Kirby Air Riders is it's like more of an action game than a racing game. It also just like throws any conventional wisdom of a racing game out the window. So you are not holding a button to accelerate, which like is the first thing where you're like, what? What do you mean? Not only that, there's two buttons now because one activates your special, but like basically you have one button that is a contextual button where it lets you kind of boost if you hold it down, and so you kind of come to a complete stop and then boost forward. You can use that kind of as a drift. And there's like a whole nuance to how that works. But also, if you're near an enemy, you suck up that enemy. Or if you have a like power, a copy ability, that becomes your copy ability button. And like it is all very contextual. It kind of knows, what you want to do at what point. It sounds very unintuitive, but I actually think it works quite well. People hated it in the GameCube era, but I think now I'm a little more used to it. But then it's got all these weird quirks where like you're kind of just steering with the control stick and that's your movement. But also you can do a spin attack by like flicking the control stick back and forth, which takes a little time to get used to. So it's definitely a steep learning curve, I think, if you have never played Kirby Air Ride. But honestly, I've gotten so used to it at this point, and I like love how it feels now, just because it's so fast and strange and like isn't doing stuff that every other game is doing. Like I've picked up so many kart racers this year, including Garfield Kart 2, and like you can pick up the controller and you know how every single one of those games plays. You're like, accelerate, cool. Steer, cool. There's a drift in every one, and I can guess what the item box button is, and you can just guess. And this is a game where like you have to learn how it plays. Same with top ride mode, that kind of like top down mode you were talking about. Took me so long to figure that out. It's the weaker mode of all of them, but I've gotten the hang of it, and now I kind of appreciate it because it's just like a weird like slot car thing that you're kind of doing there. You know, Certainly the weakest of those, but like I have played a ton of it anyways. City Trial is just, I think, where this thing shines. For those that don't know, it's basically like a little open world mode, I guess you would say. It drops you into the city, and you have 5 minutes to collect as many stats as possible. So it's like boost your speed, boost your defense, all this stuff. And you kind of are just like chasing as much of that as you can and picking up items along the way so that you can like attack other players and steal some stats for them. And that at the end of it all, you get a randomly selected mini game. You can vote on it, and it like plays to you hope to pick something that plays to your stats. So if you have really high speed, you want to get like a drag race mini game where it's just like go fast as straight as you can. But if you have like made your cart able to fly, you want something that's like this target practice mode where you have to like go into a score. And that mode is so great and makes such great use of all of the ideas and controls and weird things about this game to create something that like nothing else feels like it. There's no game that plays like the City Trial. It is so fascinating. I've played that over and over and over again, and I will play that for like 50 more hours. Like once I get into the online, because every match feels a little bit different, and there's such a chaos to it. Like, and that's the thing that I want to stress the most. Like, this is a game that loves chaos. It does not want you to feel good all the time necessarily. It wants you to have moments where you're like, I am too powerful, and that's a problem. If you get too many speed boosts in that mode, you cannot control your car anymore. It just like goes at a speed that like you cannot comprehend, right? It just like truly you would have to be like the most like zoomer brained person on earth, like who can scan like 10 TikTok videos at once to comprehend like how fast you're moving and how many things you're picking up as you're moving. It's like hysterical, and it becomes a detriment because you're like, oh, now I can't like do anything because I'm too fast, and I can't like intentionally pick up stat boosts. I'm like, I've lost control. And that's just like such a fascinating design decision that again is not about like, okay, traditionally, more stats, you're better. It's like, no, there is a point where you need to be smart and not do that because the game will be hard to play. And like, God, that's so cool, man.
By the way, that was Anakin Skywalker erasure that you just did. So congratulations.
You're so right. I'm so sorry, Anakin.
The only human who could do podcasting. I almost said pod
He's
racing.
the only human who can do podcasting.
God, if only.
God, have you heard his podcast? Oh my God. Jeez.
His voice went through a pretty different change. It was weird. Pretty sure it's AI generated now.
Don't give someone an idea.
I mean, hey, didn't James Earl Jones like give Disney permission to like use his voice in AI so he could continue being the Darth Vader voice?
AI could never make Kirby Air Riders. I want to make that clear. There's no, like, you could not put anything into a data set that would make a machine go like, okay, I will make a cart that controls bad on purpose. Like, there's nothing. You wouldn't get it. You would just get Mario Kart.
You would get the typos, though.
You would get the typos. Yeah, that is the one place where it is consistent.
Well, you've got me really excited to check this game out. And thankfully, it is available now exclusively on the Nintendo Switch 2. And I know people have been kind of like disenchanted with PlayStation and Xbox for still making so many games for the PS4 and Xbox One instead of just like moving on to like the newer consoles and like fully focusing and delivering, like trying to squeeze every little ounce of power out of these things like we have in past generations. But something that I've liked actually is like Nintendo hasn't really done that so much because like we got like Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, we joke, but like, you know, Dragon Drive and Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, and Kirby Air Riders. Like we got Legend ZA and Metroid on Switch 1, but like I think that's probably only because they were announced prior to the Switch 2 being announced.
For sure.
Did this feel like something that couldn't run on the Switch 1?
Absolutely. And I think that is, I'm so glad you pointed this out because I think this is the case with a lot of Switch 2 games, right? Even like going back to Age of Imprisonment, the new Hyrule Warriors game. Like,
oh, right.
The fact that thing runs, it's only on Switch 2, and it runs incredibly smoothly compared to Age of Calamity. Like that game would just like chug, and this one you really don't get that. And I think people expected like, oh, you know, we want more power on a Nintendo console, and that means better graphics. And it's like, that's not how they're using this. Like the graphics are better in these games, whatever. But the way Nintendo is getting the most out of the Switch 2 right now is like, hey, we can just push what you can do in a game, and we can have a Donkey Kong game where you can blow up the entire scenery and have like a million particles on screen. And like, you're not going to look at that and go like, oh, next gen graphics. But like, you couldn't do that on Switch. And that is like, it is like tech enabling gameplay, and I think that has been so powerful so far in this Switch 2 early launch window. And yeah, Kirby Air Riders like could not have happened on Switch because you need that like incredibly fast pace. You need that like that frame rate that holds up when you are going at 10 million miles an hour, because it just like fuels the chaos and the speed of it, and makes the whole thing feel like, again, I keep joking that like it's that meme where you are like looking at TikTok and there's like 5 windows and it's like Subway Surfers and like someone carving soap and, you know, like 5 videos at once. It like feels like that. And I know that probably sounds like bad to people, but it's like kind of great. You know, it's just this like total like ADD brained game where you're like, you know, like it is so perfect if you are someone who like has kind of a short attention span like I do, right? And you're like, oh God, like everything is just moving so quickly and this is so cool. And I just don't think you could have done that on Switch. And I don't think you could have done that on the Nintendo GameCube, which is why I think Kirby Air Ride, the first one, never really lived up to its potential. And this feels like it finally pays that off without being a very different game. It's just like, yeah, tech has caught up and now it can support the game I always wanted this to be. And like, I think it's a night and day difference because of that.
Well, Gio did not review it for Polygon, but he has been playing it quite a bit. But if you'd like to read Julia Lee's review, you can head over to polygon.com to read her full breakdown. And
It's a great review. Great review.
I'm super excited to check this out now. I was kind of lukewarm in the lead up to it, but now I'm like, the way you're describing it makes me want to just download it at midnight.
Give it a chance. That's all I say to anybody. If this doesn't sound like your cup of tea and it's like too weird, like meet it on its terms, and like you will at the very least appreciate that it is a game where Sakurai is making a million decisions that are not like the decisions that you see in every other game. And I think if you come to it like that, it's a fascinating, even just like as a design document, you'll be like, this is very cool.
So, Gio, do you own any of the analog consoles?
I don't actually. I've never picked one up, but I've always wanted them because they seem to be doing really, really cool stuff. And this new one sounds incredibly cool.
Yeah, so just for people who are not aware, this Analog is a company that releases high-end retro consoles. So it's basically like, there's the Analog Duo that plays like Super Graphics, TurboGrafx 16, and like other like CD-based games. There's the NT Mini, which plays like NES and Famicom cartridges. There's the Super NT that plays SNES and Super Famicom cartridges. There's the Mega SG, which has Genesis and Master System and Mega Drive compatibility. And then the most recent one was the Pocket, which looks like a Game Boy, but like, modern Game Boy that plays Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance cartridges, and then also has adapters that you can buy for Game Gear, Neo Geo Pocket Color, Atari Lynx, and others. So the one that I have been playing is the Analog 3D, which is shipping out now. It is their latest console here, and it allows you to play any Nintendo 64 cartridge in existence natively without emulation.
Wow.
So it's fantastic. It's region free, which is unbelievable. So I actually make a tradition out of this. Whenever I go to Japan, I bring back Japanese versions, Japanese copies of some of my favorite games of all time.
Hmm.
So I was like, all right, well, I have some N64 cartridges. So I was like plugging in like, Mario Party and GoldenEye and stuff like that. And it was all working great. And I was like, what about those? I have Japanese copies of Ocarina of Time and Mario 64. It's actually the enhanced Japanese version of Mario 64.
Oh, wow.
I think it's called Shindu something or
Okay.
other. And it basically takes the English voice acting and fixes some of the glitches of the original Mario 64. Like you can't do like the infinite backwards jump.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's like, and they changed Mario's voice to be a little bit higher pitched as well. But it's just like little smoothing overs that they released, and it has like a cooler box art. So I picked that one up when I went to Tokyo, and I was like looking at kind of the retro games. Um, so yeah, that worked like a charm too, and it was like funny because I plugged it in. I'm like, yeah, let me play a little bit of Mario 64 in Japanese, and I was like, it's a good thing. As soon as it started and it was like Peach's letter in Japanese, I was like, I am so grateful that I've memorized basically every facet of this game because Lakitu is there with his tutorial of how to control the camera, all in Japanese. You enter Peach's castle for the first time, and Bowser like taunts you, all in Japanese. When you land in Bob-omb Battlefield, it's like, hey, here's how you play the game, and like go find stars. And yeah, I can read 0 words of that. So it's a very good thing I've beaten that game like 10 times because
Yeah.
otherwise I would be in dire straits. But it worked great, like
Wow.
it was fantastic that I finally have a way to like I have them on my shelf. It's like it's great to finally be able to crack them open and have like a reason to plug them into a system, because I've been running N64 games either on Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack, or like I even bought like the original like N64 Switch 1 controller that is like almost a necessity for
Yeah.
N64 games, because like the controller is so weird that it feels strange to play it with any other type of controller. Um, or I have my original N64 that like I would just plug games into. This is so much better. This is there's it's region free to start. It has an HDMI output, so like you don't need an adapter, or you don't need to like hopefully have a TV that has like the 3-color like what is it component
Right.
cables. Um, you can customize like the experience. Like if you want like a CRT filter, you can do that. Otherwise, you can just do like the clean look or like the curved like tube look. There's different like sharpness settings. Like I was like playing and I was like, yeah, let me just make Mario 64 as sharp as possible. And I was like, oh, this looks terrible. Let me like
You
tone that down
motion
a little bit.
smooth it. Yeah.
And then like I don't know if you've played like the Switch Online versions of these, but like the colors are a little bit like toned down in the
Right.
emulation, which I think is like a result of the fact that like they had to like really like skyrocket them in terms of like to make them pop on the tube TVs and the CRTs back in the day. So
Right.
in order to like not make them look ridiculous, they toned them down for like HD TVs. And at least that's my understanding of it. I'm
Yeah.
sure somebody who has a much better technical understanding of emulation will be in my comments correcting me. But there are color options, so you can actually adjust. Like, do you want it to be like the more vivid version, or do you want it to be like the toned down version, which is cool. There's also 4 controller ports, so you can plug in your original N64
I
controllers.
was gonna ask. Yeah.
So 4 players is a necessity for N64. You know, I remember like, I said this in my impressions over on GameInformer.com, but like some of my core memories, especially with regards to like friendships and like gaming in general, are sitting around like an old, like massive tube TV and a Nintendo 64 with 4 controllers plugged in. I don't care if we were playing like GoldenEye or Mario Kart 64 or Star Fox 64. We had so much fun just playing that like at sleepovers until like the sun literally was coming up. And then like we had to like lie to my parents and tell them we went to bed at a reasonable hour. And like meanwhile, we're operating on like 1 hour of sleep at breakfast. And it was such a good time. And it really does recapture that feeling, and having those 4 controller ports and so you can go and experience that is amazing.
That's
But there's
awesome.
also the 8-bit do 64 Bluetooth controller. I think that's what it's called, 8-bit do
Mm.
64. It's a Bluetooth controller that because this also has Bluetooth functionality, this
Oh wow.
Analog
Okay.
3D, so you can really sync most Bluetooth controllers to it as well. And this 8-bit do 64, it looks like a modern controller. Like it looks like almost like a Switch Pro controller, but when you pick it up, it only has like one analog stick. It's on the left side, and then the buttons are laid out in such a way that they feel like an N64 controller, and then it has the C buttons as well.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I've thought that because like when you play like using like the Switch Pro controller on the N64 catalog on Switch Online, there's always like a weirdness with how they map the stuff, right? Like it's like,
Of course.
okay, the right analog stick is the C buttons. That makes sense. But then it's like, all right, press this trigger. And it's like, well, there's no like middle prong on this controller. So I'm guessing it's this over here. And like sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. And on this, it was like it does have like the shoulder buttons and the triggers, but I was like, all right, something's going to be off here. And I would be like, intuitively, I would just hit the button that I thought was going to be like the Z trigger. And I was like, oh, that actually was the Z trigger. So there was a lot of thought with like where this would map. I couldn't find any custom button mapping in the Analog
Mhm.
3D, which is maybe a knock that you could do, but it is like really the 8-bit do 64 feels so good that like if you don't have an N64 controller, which I would still say is the best way to experience it because it's such a unique feeling controller. But and the joysticks on the 8-bit do 64 also feels just like an N64 joystick. It doesn't feel like kind of like the current analog sticks that we have on like the Switch Pro controller or like an Xbox One controller. It feels just like that N64 joystick, which I don't know how they pulled that off, but like it is like wizardry.
Wow.
I did not play the Mario Kart like rotational things to like really get a sense of if it burns into your hand in the
Yeah.
same way, but I'm sure it does because it feels just like it.
Man.
So it's really a fantastic way to play your N64 catalog. The only real downside, I would say, is that you're limited by the fact that N64 games are just absurdly expensive in a lot of cases. Like, I have my Japanese copy of Ocarina of Time, but I, for whatever reason, can't find my English copy that like I used to play all the time growing up. So if I looked up like how much Ocarina of Time costs to buy like an N64 cartridge, I'm sure it's like 100 plus.
Uh, I'm curious. Is there a way to like slot in a flash drive kind of thing to it? Is there like a USB port
There are
on there?
USB ports around the back.
Okay.
There's also an SD slot.
So there's maybe ways. Yeah, okay. We're picking up what I'm saying.
Traditionally, there have been like homebrew opportunities in
Okay.
the analog stuff. Like I think a lot of people used the Pocket and the Super NT, if I'm not mistaken. I think a lot of homebrew stuff was found a
Yeah,
home on those
that's really cool.
consoles. And it did say, like, I think that one of the like briefings that I got about this thing, I think it said that like, yeah, it should work with every N64 cartridge, but we have not tested unofficial third-party cartridges.
Got it.
So while it should work, we haven't tested them. So like, you might have some compatibility issues if you're using like unofficial cartridges.
Here's the most important question that I have to ask about this entire thing. Have you tested it with the Hey You Pikachu microphone yet?
I haven't, but they do purport that all of the like back of the controller plugins work just
Yeah.
fine. I used a Rumble Pack and it worked fine.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Okay.
another thing is you can adjust on the 8-bit do 64 like what the Rumble settings you want on that. So it's highly customizable as well. I'm really excited to like continue kicking the tires. I only played it for like 4 or 5 hours, which was enough to get like my full
Yeah.
impressions in. Like I was just jumping around playing like, all right, let me do Mario 64. All right, let me play some Mario Party. All right, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Speaking of Anakin Skywalker,
There he is. He's
so
back.
he's
Yeah,
omnipresent. Really,
that's pod racing.
it was pod racing,
Yeah.
man. But yeah, it's starting to ship for people who pre-ordered now, and it is currently sold out online, but it is saying that a restock is coming to the official Analogue store. So you can sign up to get notified if this sounds of interest. Like, I feel like if you have a little bit of money to spare, you like, uh, playing N64 games in the best possible way, and you have a decent collection already, like this is the way to go. If you're like a casual N64 enjoyer and like it's like, all right, I only want to fire up Mario Kart 64 once every 6 months just to like, oh yeah, nostalgia. I think you can probably stick with the Switch Online subscription, but like if you're wanting the best of the best experience, like this is pretty close to that, and it's expensive, but it's not going to completely break the bank.
Awesome. Yeah, good on Analog for continuing to make stuff like this. I think I mean, it's just important for preservation more than
Oh,
anything, right?
absolutely.
Like it's just so good to have like a new piece of hardware that is updated to make sure that it works in case God forbid all the N64 stop working correctly, right? I love what they're doing. I think this stuff is so cool.
Well, if you want my full review, you can head on over to GameInformer.com, and then you can read my written down thoughts right there. Usually a lot more articulate than on the podcast. But we are going to take one final break, and on the other side, we are going to do definitive ranking. We will be right back. We are back for the last time, and it is time for Definitive Ranking, a recurring segment where we take a Nintendo topic and give our own personal top 5 lists. Since last week gave us our first real look at the Mario Galaxy movie, and this week let us see Link and Zelda on the set of the Zelda movie. Gio, I want to get your top 5 video game movie castings. So you've done this before. Start at 5, count it down to 1. Give me a quick sentence or two about each.
Oh boy, I forgot to prep this, and I was like, I'll figure it out on the fly. And now I'm remembering, like, that's a terrible idea, and I shouldn't have done that. What are even video game movies? Okay. How do we start this? At number 5, this is so hard. I shouldn't have done this on the fly. This is such a bad idea. What's your list? Can we start with your list?
For the first time ever, I am going first on definitive ranking.
Please, I should have given, because the thing is, like, there's not a lot of casting that I think is good. So I was like, oh, a bunch of things will come to mind like immediately, and I was like, oh wait, actually, a lot of this casting is bad in these movies. Please, give me your list to start this.
All right, so number 5, I'm gonna go Angelina Jolie as Lara Croft.
Okay, that's a great one.
A-list celebrity getting cast as the lead in one of the most iconic video game characters. I think she embodied Lara Croft very well. She obviously has the look for it. She slid into that role fantastically. Alicia Vikander, also shout out to her, honorable
Yeah.
mention. I know that movie didn't get the love that I think that the Angelina Jolie movies did, but I thought she did a great job with Lara Croft as well. But Angelina Jolie is my pick for number 5. Number 4, I'm going to go with the Academy Award winner, Hiroyuki Sanada, as Scorpion in the most recent
Wow.
Mortal Kombat movie. He doesn't have a huge role, but I think that he does a really great job in the stuff that he does do. And, he's a phenomenal actor. I don't need to tell you that if you've
Of
seen
course.
Shogun. Like, come on. Like, he's just a treasure of an actor. Number 3, you knew this was going to come here when I'm making this list. Keanu Reeves as Shadow the Hedgehog.
Of course.
I was thinking, like, coming into it, there were rumors swirling that it was either Keanu or Hayden Christensen. Wow, a lot of Anakin Skywalker talk this episode.
Yeah, it keeps coming back.
But Keanu ended up being the choice. And I think either of those actors would have been phenomenal castings for Shadow the Hedgehog, who, basically the edgelord of edgelords. And Keanu knocked it out of the park. This was just such a perfect use of Keanu Reeves. And I think Shadow might be the best casting in the Sonic universe, although Ben Schwartz is also a great casting as well. And Colleen O'Shaughnessy doesn't count because she's the game actor.
I was going to say she would be number 1 if we were counting her for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to go way back with my number 2, and that is Raul Julia as M. Bison.
Really good pick.
Not really a great movie, but what a performance. And it was his final performance before he passed away. And it was only because he had no idea what Street Fighter was. He only did it because I think it was his grandchildren who were big fans of the Street Fighter games. And they're like, you got to do it. And he's like, all right, I'll do it. And, he's a legend in the acting space. And I think that his monologue that he gives to Chun-Li of the "for me it was Tuesday" line is just pitch perfect. It's threatening, it's menacing, but also campy. And like, that is the exact tone that movie took. And he was perfect in that role.
That's so cool. That's good.
And then number 1, I mean, he's not even really acting in this because he fits it so perfectly. Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong.
Whoa, that's crazy. What? That's what you're going with?
That's what I went with, because as soon as he starts talking, you're like, oh yeah, that's why he's Donkey Kong, because he just
wow.
He sounds like Donkey Kong would sound if Donkey Kong could talk.
That's crazy. Okay, that's cool, man. That's a cool opinion. I like that a lot. Oh man, I like that a lot.
I will say
this is how I'm gonna feel when what's his name, the new Bowser Jr. voice actor who's escaping me now.
Ben Safdie.
When Benny Safdie does Bowser Jr., I'm gonna feel the way you do about Seth Rogen, I think.
So I tried to limit myself to 1 per film franchise.
Yeah.
Because I could have done Ben Schwartz as Sonic. I think that's a fantastic casting. I could have done Jack Black as Bowser. Which also I think he is just perfectly suited for that. I think Brie Larson is going to be amazing as Rosalina. But I really think that Seth Rogen did a great job with Donkey Kong, and he was not putting on a voice whatsoever. It was just his natural voice.
I like that. So we're just doing movies here, right?
You can fudge it and do. I did almost do Pedro Pascal as Joel.
Yeah, I was gonna potentially throw that into this list, but I almost want to keep it to movies because it's very difficult, like doing it as just movies. It's kind of like, oh, this is actually like really hard to come up with this list, and I like that as a challenge. Okay, if we're just doing 1 per, what if I threw this out as just a real crazy number 5 here? Terrible film. Terribly cast in so many ways, but funny. Ben Kingsley in The Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time adaptation, which is a terrible movie, and nobody in it should have been cast for it. But like, kind of hilarious to see Ben Kingsley in a Prince of Persia movie, like really hamming it up and being like, an evil emperor or whatever he is in that movie. I don't even remember. can I just throw him in there? Can I just say that he's number 5 in there, and everyone could be like, "Are you sure?" Like, can that be my Donkey Kong?
Sure.
Okay, great. I kind of low key like it. Um, I'm also gonna do another like bad movie, but I respect the role for number 4, which is like Mila Jovovich in the
Oh my
Resident Evil
God.
movies, like terrible films, but like she goes for it, man. She's like so bought into that character, Alice, who she plays, which is not a character from the game, whatever. But like she's so into the like campiness and weird like action movie heroine of that series that I actually kind of like very much respect that she goes for it. I kind of I'll give her credit for it in a way that
Also,
yeah.
I legitimately like the first one.
Yeah, the first one's a lot of fun. Yeah.
The
It's got
rest of them,
Lickers. It's crazy.
I think, are terrible movies, but
Yeah.
they are still super fun. You're right. She 100% goes for it and
Yeah.
elevates the films really as a
100%.
result.
Yeah. Really, really makes them work. I then at number 3 would actually go with a different Mario pick. If I'm picking one from Mario, actually gonna go with Jack Black,
Okay.
Bowser, and Mario. I think that like that's a tough role to like really get right and like not have people be mad at you about. And like universally, a lot of people had a lot of opinions about a lot of the voices in that movie. And like Chris Pratt, some people think he did great, some people like kind of hate it, all that stuff. I think like everyone really loves Jack Black in that movie and really feels like he goes for it. And again, same thing. It's like the same thing with Mila Jovovich in a very different way, where like he's so bought into it and he's like, hell yeah, this is awesome. I'm in a Mario movie. This is so fun. I'm gonna do Bowser and I'm gonna like take the character seriously. I'm gonna do the dumb Peaches song that everyone loves, but like really put my heart into it. I think it's a really fun performance from him, and I really like that it's there.
I said
Um,
this last week when we were
yeah,
talking about the Nintendo Direct where they revealed the Mario Galaxy thing, and Jack Black crashed that during Chris
yeah,
Meledandri's thing, and he just did the exact same thing that he does with everything, which is just give 200% to
yeah,
whatever he is doing in the moment, and that seems to be the case for all of his existence, really. Like if
yeah, 100%,
every
hundred
time I've
percent.
seen him, I talked about like the two times I've encountered him at like events, whether it was E3 one year or the Mario movie premiere, and he is just on all the time, and he's a delight. He's a delight of a
Yeah,
human being, and he absolutely is like full send, like bought into Bowser.
yeah.
That's a
I
great pick.
really, really, really appreciate that about him. It's cool. That's just a cool thing.
He was on my
Um,
list as well before I decided that I wanted to keep it to one per film.
That's fair, and you decided to give the edge to give
Yes.
the edge there, which I think is really really cool. Yeah, I got my like before I get into this top 2. If I were to knock Ben Kingsley off the list, who doesn't deserve to be here like at all, actually, am I remembering right that Carl Urban is in the Doom movie?
Oh yeah, he's the main guy, right? Like Carl Urban, because like The Rock was the one that like they advertised heavily, but the
Yeah,
main character was actually Carl Urban. He was like Doom
yeah.
guy.
I'll kick Ben Kingsley off the list because like he shouldn't have been cast in that movie, and I kind of was just scrambling there. I'll give Carl Urban some credit. The Doom
Okay.
movie is terrible, but like he kind of steals the show from The Rock, who puts in like a typical The Rock performance at that stage in his career. I'll give Carl Urban that.
One
Okay,
thing I will say about the Doom movie is there's
yeah,
a first person sequence.
that's like
It's
14
so
minutes long.
stupid and so over the top and so unnecessary. But if you are watching it with friends, like a good group of friends, and you just all like my friend group did, like silently agreed that we were gonna just like overreact to everything that happens in that sequence, it might be the most fun you ever have in a movie.
It's kind of a blast. It's the stupidest thing that has ever happened in the movie, and I really appreciate it. So I'm moving Carl Urban up onto the list. Sorry to our boy Ben Kingsley. Um, Number 2, I'll cross over with you in one place here and say, yeah, man, Angelina Jolie. Like I think of her when I think of Lara Croft a lot of the time. Like I think that she like owns that character in a way that no one has owned a video game character in an adaptation since, except for my number 1, which I'll get to. Like I that's kind of the voice and vibe I think of when I think of Lara Croft now, and that's an impressive feat. It's an impressive feat. My number 1, by that same token, is Ben Schwartz is Ben Schwartz, baby. I know Keanu like gets the credit because he's like so well cast as Shadow, and I think like it's really funny casting. And I think like he's great. I think this top 5 could have just been a lot of the Sonic characters because I think like Idris Elba is also very
Oh
very
yeah.
fun as Knuckles and like does a great job with that. But Ben Schwartz like again goes all in on that character, like puts his own spin on Sonic, but like still very much feels in the vein of Sonic and gets the attitude of it down. It's just like I kind of think of that voice in my head now when I think of Sonic. Like it has kind of superseded a lot of the game stuff, and I think that's a testament to like how well he has kind of owned that character. Yeah, talk about it. Talk about it. We didn't even talk about it. Talk about a Game Awards snub that Sonic 3 was not up for best adaptation.
Yeah.
That was a weird a weird lack from there. But
Especially in
yeah,
a year that I think was fairly weak for game
very,
adaptations.
very, very weak. We have like a Minecraft movie up and not Sonic 3 is crazy. I know people like the Minecraft movie. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, I mean, people just forgot about it. I think that's what
Yeah, it's
happened.
one of those ones that came out after it was eligible last year because it came out
Yeah,
like December 23rd or something.
yeah.
And then it just didn't, it got lost in the shuffle this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that would be it. I think if we were introducing TV into the equation, it would be a lot easier. And I think maybe there would be like 5 actual good performances on here, and not and not Carl Urban, who I just have a soft spot for. Yeah. Sorry, I should have prepared for that a lot sooner.
Carl Urban also, he's going to be in the Mortal Kombat movie as
Yes,
Johnny Cage.
that's great casting. That's
That is.
such good casting. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I probably would have included Brie Larson in the list for similar reasons that that Ben Schwartz is on the list for yours, where it's like she seems like tailor made for that that outfit that role,
Yeah,
and she's also a massive fan, the same way that Ben Schwartz is a huge fan of Sonic. Like I
yeah.
asked Ben Schwartz, like, hey, what level would you most want to see like adapted? And he went to Studiopolis Zone from Sonic Mania, and I'm like, okay, yeah, he knows ball.
That's deep. Yeah, that's deep knowledge. I love that. Man, good list.
Maybe I gave it to Seth Rogen because he's been a guest on this podcast.
Has he really?
Yeah, I interviewed them for Game Informer, the cast and the directors. So if you go back, there's actually a Mario movie extravaganza where I talk about going to the premiere. I have a 30-minute conversation with the directors, which was exclusive to this podcast.
Whoa.
And then the cast interviews with Chris Pratt, Charlie Day, and Seth Rogen. And then ended with a review with our dear friend Krista Yang from Kit and Krista.
Oh,
So that was a really, really good episode, which I think is probably, still fun to go back and listen to if you haven't listened to it before.
good plug.
But
Good plug. Go back to it.
Gio, that brings us to the final segment of this chaotic episode, and that is the eShop Gem of the Week, a chance for you, the guest, to shout out a game that might not otherwise get the shine that it deserves. What is your eShop Gem of the Week?
Yeah, I think we talked about. Funny enough, the last time I was on this podcast, I think like one of the news topics was the fact that this was coming to Switch, so it felt like a way to tie this off. As of this week, you can now get the video game Indika on Switch, which if you haven't played it yet, do yourself a favor. If you like a weird game that it does things you're not expecting a game to do, that one's worth playing. It is a very strange kind of narrative adventure sort of. I mean, it's it's not like a visual novel or anything. You're walking around in 3D space, but it has to do with nuns and having the devil on your shoulder in I don't remember which century it is. One of the centuries that is old, and it is a game that does a lot of weird things to test your faith. I'll say a lot of systems in the game where you're kind of like, is this meaningful? Like, am I getting stat upgrades that actually do anything? Like, what or is this just placebo? And the way that it kind of uses that to tell its story about kind of faith in that era is very fascinating and antagonistic is the word I will use. It like will antagonize you as a player and do some real weird stuff that'll make you pull your hair out. And I think it's just such a fascinating game. It was one of the kind of best written games of last year that kind of went under the radar, especially. So now's your chance. Go back and play it.
Yeah, that's a good call out because that's a game that I kind of missed when it came through the first time, but I did download it on my Switch this week.
Good.
Because I have several trips coming up on the horizon, and I desperately need stuff to play. And not that I'm at a shortage of like games on my Switch. I mean, I think I filled up my 1 terabyte micro SD card that I got.
Already,
But
oh my God.
yeah, I have way too many games on my Switch, but that's a result of being a person who hosts a Nintendo podcast, I guess.
You gotta
And
be in the
has
know.
segments like this where people recommend hidden gems, and I say, "Oh, that does sound really good. Let me go buy that right now." It's a really stupid decision on my part.
Indika,
But
man, I'm curious to see what you think of it. It's a weird one. It's not for everybody, but it's an interesting game.
I think I think that Indika, the character, actually won like best hero or something, or best character maybe, like at Game Informer.
Oh,
The year
yes,
that it came out.
I think that's right, and a good choice.
Yeah.
Good on Game Informer.
It's a great publication, turns out. But yeah, I am super excited for that. It came out just this week, and it's $25. So if you want to check that out, go on over, head to the eShop, type in Indika. It's Indika. So non-traditional spelling there. But thank you for sharing that, Gio, and thank you so much for joining me for this episode of All Things Nintendo.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I would love to talk about Kirby, my favorite best friend in the world.
And you did just that. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. As you know, my Patreon and the associated Discord server are the best ways to get any questions or comments in. But you can also get in touch with me at brian@allthingsnintendo.com or hit me up on Blue Sky or Instagram. I posted this on the Patreon. I will be doing quite a bit of travel in the coming weeks, all the way through the end of the year. So I will have a Q&A episode coming up. You can head to the Patreon or the Discord server, or just email me or hit me up on social media to get those Q&As, questions in, rants, whatever you want to do. I will be recording that episode ahead of time so I can publish that while I'm on the road. Gio, where can people find you online?
Yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky at Mario Prime, and you can read my rating about video games right now on Polygon.com.
That is our show for this week. Thank you again so much for listening. Take care. We'll see you next time. Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of All Things Nintendo. Before we close out the show, I just want to give a special thank you to the $10 patrons of the podcast. Alex Stadnick, Andy Junkins, Ben Richland, Chad Brecky, Chaps My Ass, Derek Sigmund, Dusty Beeman, Ian T. Clark, Jawar Hello, Johnny Five, Jose Villalobos, Joshua DeProy, Casey Radio Man, Cody Gibson, Creeper207, Ozman83, Paul at Drunk on Mako, Pratable, Rob McCann, Bobby Mac 265, Robert Sosa, Roberto Nieves, Roger Reichert, Russell Sayer, Smithy Poo, Zane Sink, and Zek 3 Sword Sama. Thank you so much for continuing to support this podcast. I could not continue doing it week after week without you.
God, Rainbow Road. I wonder what the rent is going to be in that place.
$1,900 is what it starts at.
1,900?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but in Arizona, that's like probably a lot of money compared to like in New York. I'd be like, holy shit, that's nothing.
Well, yeah, in New York, that would be like, I'm gonna live forever.
Yeah, you genuinely. Oh god.
Now that Mom Donnie's in control,
Mom Donnie's gonna rent stabilize Rainbow Road. Affordable housing in Moo Moo Meadows. That would be fucking sick. I would live in Moo Moo Meadows, dude.